Hi, Unity family. So great to be able to connect with all of you. It's been a couple months and I miss getting to see all of you. I had been asked a while ago if I would be interested in doing a kind of SALT, health wellness talk, and I was like, yeah. And then life just kept getting busy, and I never sat down and recorded anything to talk to everyone about. And so here I am. I kind of have this theme that I want to talk about, but it's not really concrete. No notes today. So we're going to see where the space takes us and just really appreciating the opportunity to connect and share with all of you guys. So I want to take a quick moment as we start our time together and just kind of ground in. And if you feel so obliged, if you'd like to place a hand over your heart and one over your belly, we're going to just take a few deep breaths in through our nose, pulling it down deep into our belly, pushing that hand outward, and exhaling back out through our nose. Inhaling once again, feeling the air expand downwards, grounding us here into this moment. And exhaling with a smile, excited to begin together. Before we open our eyes, I'll invite all of us to join in together for the hero's prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Namaste. Now you may be thinking, hero's prayer? I thought that was a serenity prayer. And it is completely known as a serenity prayer. But the word hero has really been pulling me. It's actually the word that I wrote on my white stone at the beginning of our year. And in my recent lecture, my mentor said, let's do the hero's prayer. And the serenity prayer is the hero's prayer because the number one virtue of a hero is courage. And courage isn't, I think that our society has come to have a distorted image and understanding of what courage is. Like we see courage as, the warrior in the battle with the weapon and the blood and the just violence. And in that moment, rising above and leading from the front and being courageous. And yes, that is one way that we can be courageous. But I think so often in our daily lives that courage is channeling that warrior energy not into violence but into love, and that in our society currently love is the most courageous thing that we could do, the courageous response that we could have. And courage actually comes from the Latin and French word cor, which means heart. It is the heart driven, and it is the heartbeat of a warrior soul is to the beat of courage. And that's really where I'm leaning into and finding alchemization of the health and wellness knowledge I had before, and what is the purpose of it. So much of our society is based on getting healthy to either have an external result, losing the weight, having a certain type of body, fitting into a certain size clothes, or it's because we got the long face from the doctor and we got the cancer diagnosis, or our blood pressure is high, or we have type 2 diabetes, or some type of dis-ease within our body has brought to awareness that we need to take care of ourselves. And while those can be motivators, I know that for myself, it was never sustainable. I could eat healthy and get myself to a certain size, but then the cookie would call to me, the glass of wine would call to me, and I could never stick in it. And what I really understand about myself now is that I didn't have a strong why that was pulling me forward. That was a reason that not only did I not need to eat the cookie, but it became that I don't even want to eat the cookie. And that's kind of where I want to lean in with our time together today, is being able to tap ourselves into a deeper why. Why is it important for us to take care of our health? Why is wellness so important now? What is the importance of self-care in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of a racial war, in the midst of everything that we're facing with job losses, like our entire system, from education to medicine to racial inequality to politics, like everything is being called into question, right? What we're witnessing in front of us is that the foundations of the systems that have kind of just been the guiding structures for most of our lives are deeply flawed. The foundations are cracked, and when they were tested, they're shattering. And many of them in a good way. Many of them needed to be. Many of them needed to be for a very, very, very long time. And for those of us that were held within the system, those questions, that changing, that shifting is scary. And it's scary to have it happen amidst an already pandemic when the other resources and things aren't available to us. And so what I feel is so important is that we need to not numb ourselves out and to just survive this period, right? We really need to be able to sit in this space, to learn the lessons that we need to learn, and to either completely shatter the foundation and start scratch, or figure out what those flaws are within our foundation and truly heal them, get them sealed up, make them strong, and make them stronger, make them better. That is the goal for Hero, I really think, is that we're not simply trying to get through and survive, leading from the front, because we have an image of something better that we are pulling the people behind us towards, that we have hope where others are hopeless, that we have strength where others have a weakness, we have capabilities because we have practiced and we have honed, that a hero and a warrior doesn't just show up to the battle and expect to be able to win, right? Like they practice for years and years and years and years before they're tested, truly tested. And I feel like that's the mentality that we need to take, is that we do the ordinary, everyday things extraordinarily well, so that when we have something that challenges us, we are able to lean in and commit to it and focus on it with clarity of our minds, clarity of our heart, clarity of our soul, and with strength and courage. And in that way, see ourselves, our families, and our communities forward to a better tomorrow. The hero definition that I really resonate with does nothing to do with superheroes or Avengers style, wearing the fancy spandex outfits and the capes and the superhuman strength. But it's when we go back to the Greek root of the word hero. And the Greeks call it heros. And their definition wasn't any of what I just said. Their definition of hero was simply an individual who had the strength for two. And the greatest weapon they wield is love. It's not strength to hold up a building by yourself, or strength to transform the entire world by yourself. It is simply strength for yourself plus one more. Focusing in and training and honing ourselves so that we have strength to lead ourselves with love plus one more. And as we grow and as we evolve, that plus one can be plus 2, plus 3, plus 20, plus 40, you know, we do grow and evolve in our strengths and capabilities as we wield them. But at the core, every single day, as long as you have the strengths for yourself plus one more, you are a hero. You are a hero embodied, and you are a hero moving in our world, leading us forward to a better tomorrow. So what are the ordinary things that we can do to help ourselves train to be in that shape, to be in the warrior shape, so that when a challenge comes forward, we are able to be of service? And those are our core fundamentals. We have 5 core fundamentals: eating, moving, sleeping, breathing, and meditating. I just want to take a quick moment of our time here and touch on each of these and how we can approach them as a hero, and to bust through the myth of our current society's understanding of these. So our first one is a biggie that I know is just really, it's really difficult for many people. And eating is what I'm going to talk about. And as someone who has struggled with eating disorders in my past, most significantly body dysmorphia was something I struggled with in my early 20s, emotional eating all the way, and many other just struggles around food. Won't go into it because we're going to keep this video kind of brief for everybody, but I struggled a lot. I had a very toxic relationship with food, and I even had a very toxic relationship with healthy food. I went like totally to the opposite end of the emotional eating spectrum, and I learned all of the things that I could, got certified as a nutritionist, had all of the information, and then became like completely disconnected from my own body and simply ran my life and my eating by the numbers, right? Became process oriented rather than experience oriented. And we as humans are experience beings. We are in our bodies, right? And so as I came to have a different relationship with food, I stopped asking myself, what do I need to eat in order to lose weight? Like that was almost always, or like maintain my body. Like what do I need to do to that? And my question became, how do I feel in my body when I eat this? It became much more an invitation to enter into my body. How does this food make me feel when I'm eating it? And the second question to that is, how do I feel in my body, energy-wise, after I eat this? With the clear intention that how I want to feel is energetic, is poised, is like ready. Whether that's I'm going to go for a run and do a workout, or my toddler's having a tantrum and I need to be able to take deep breaths and ground myself. That our physiology drives our psychology in ways that we have many times not made the connection. So when I was eating a lot of sugared, highly processed foods, I was really revving all the time, right? I was kind of like always on this trigger. And I found it very difficult, very challenging to have the energy that I wanted when I wanted to have it. One of my mentors mentions enervated anxiety, where you kind of just always have this higher level of buzzing tension. Like you're never like spiking too high where you're like super concerned about it, but neither are you getting down low and like being able to actually relax and release. So making the shift in how we view what we put on our plate, stepping completely away from numbers and calories and scales and all of that. Simply like, how do I feel in my body? What is it that my body is saying that it needs? We have become so externally oriented, like looking, if someone could just tell me how to eat, that would be super great, right? Like I thought that so many times, like if someone could just make the cookbook, or like that came with a complete meal plan and like just told me what to do, that would be awesome. But that's not what actually works, because there are programs like that. I've done them. I've spent like thousands of dollars on different programs, right? And then I never sustain them, because what happens is that our bodies need something completely unique only to our own selves. And our bodies are not always at the same stage, always. That was a lot of always in that sentence. But our bodies are changing and evolving. As women, throughout a month, we have different needs. Throughout years, we have different needs. Different seasons, we have different needs. And when we are looking externally, they don't know what season you're in. They don't know what time of month it is for you. They don't know what's going on in your life, what happened before in your life. Only you do. And so it's only within our own selves that we have the answers that we need. So checking in with ourselves each time. 1, how do I want to feel? What is the energy that I want to be able to cultivate and put into practice? And then, does this food help me get there, or does it hold me back? If I eat this, how do I feel? And is that in alignment with how I want to feel? Simple as that. No guilt, no shame, no counting, no anything, all of that. Learning to simply trust ourselves, listen to our bodies, and utilize our own intuition in best service of ourselves. So our second core fundamental is movement. Now movement, I'm not going to try and stress everybody out and say you need to go out and do like hours every day, become a warrior. If that's your thing, that's your shtick, totally there for it. But research has shown that it's not so much the intensity and the length of the workouts that we do, but the frequency. So we are what Michelle Seeger calls, what does she call us? Basically, I'm like blanking on the words right now. We go and we have like a really intense workout, yoga, gym, CrossFit, whatever. And then we sit the rest of the day, right? We get back in the car, we drive to work, we drive home, we sit. And we think doing that 1 hour of exercise was all that we needed. But what her research shows is that rather than doing 1 hour of exercise and then sitting the rest of the day, she encourages us to find what she calls OTMs, opportunities to move. Getting our bodies up and moving it at least once an hour, every half hour is optimal. And this can be as simple as standing up, stretching, taking a deep breath in your chair, especially as all of us are like really tuned into our tech these days. If you go to the grocery store, instead of searching for a parking spot close by, park at the end of the parking lot and walk in and walk out. Get a little extra movement that way. Looking around our lives and getting opportunities to move and incorporating gentle movement into our day as a consistent practice is one of the really key ways to keep ourselves grounded in our bodies, aware of what's happening, but also allowing ourselves to just move and flow and bring energy into our field of existence. So if you have to make a choice, lean towards the opportunities to move more frequently than a higher intensity, shorter time period workout. All right, sleeping is our third core fundamental, and sleep is really, really hard to get when we're really stressed. I know that there's so many of us, our brains don't shut down, our bodies are just, there's so much tension and energy going through the world right now. There's so much whirling. So how do we get a little deeper sleep? How do we nourish ourselves? I have 3 just easy tips to incorporate and try to get better, more nourishing rest. And the first is that eat earlier, at least 2 to 3 hours before we go to bed to have our last meal. And the importance of this is that digestion is an incredibly energy intensive process. It takes a lot for our body to digest. So if we're eating and then going to bed, our body is still working through some stuff. So we may technically fall asleep, but we're not really getting down into that deep REM sleep because our body's still awake and still doing some work. So if we can back it up at 2 hours, optimal is 3 hours, but that can be a long time for people. And just kind of give yourself, your body that space. Do a little gentle breathing, a little movement after dinner, and then allow your body to just do what it does best. The second thing to do is tech. The blue light stimulates our brains, and not only that, but the information that we're bringing in, everything that we take in, everything that we see, our brain has to like parse through, and where does this go, and it should go over here, and oh, that part, like it's all connected in there, right? And so we need to give ours like boundaries. You can think of buffers, little like cozy pillows kind of thing, and really be intentional about what the last thing is that we input into our brain before we go to sleep, because that's what our brain's going to be mulling over while we sleep. So research recommends an hour, optimally 2 hours before bed, turning off all screens, and really just working to resync our bodies and our brains with our natural circadian rhythms. Just give yourself a little break. The tech will be there in the morning. I would say the world wouldn't end. It won't end completely. I'm sure that things will happen. But trusting that things will be okay if you take a break. So sleep. Those are my 2 tips for sleep. Getting a little bit nourishing, more sleep. And then breathing. Why is breathing a fundamental for our optimal health? And that is because our breath is our connection to life, right? Like we can go a little bit without some water. We can go a little bit longer without some food, but we can go mere minutes without our breath. And that's even pushing it. For many of us who haven't trained, it's not a few minutes long, right? But we take it for granted. Breath goes in, breath comes out, breath goes in, breath comes out. Like we don't think about it. And bringing our attention to our breath and using it as a connection to ourselves, to be able to ground ourselves, but also an awareness of how our bodies are a dual feedback loop, right? So this is our 2 systems, our fight or flight and our rest and digest mode. And so we can be in rest and digest mode, see like a tiger out in the woods and be triggered into fight or flight. And that is one way that happens. The second way that happens is simply by our breathing. Our fight or flight breathing is shallow. It is just our top breathing. This keeps certain this way of breathing only keeps the most fundamental functions of our body online. When we are in fight or flight mode with survival, like we don't need our digestion, we don't need all these other nicety things, like being able to think with our frontal lobe is considered to be a nicety. When we are in fight or flight, we think completely from our hindbrain, which is our animalistic survival mode brain, right? What's really interesting is that simply breathing shallowly triggers all of those reactions. And in the modern American lifestyle, we slouch a lot, which caves in the top part of our lungs. And then we also tend to cave in and we, put our legs up and we just we're hunched, right? And so that cuts off our bottom part of our lungs, where our diaphragm is. And so unconsciously, we are putting ourselves into a fight or flight existence very often. And so this has just, like I said, that cascading thing. We can't think with our front brain. Our digestion is compromised. The blood circulation is compromised. There's all kinds of long-term effects to being in this chronic state that we see. And breathing is the way that we can return our body to an equilibrium, get ourselves back into rest and digest, and then fully relax, release, and find healing. Rest and digest is where our body also heals. So if we have wounds, if we've got stuff to work through, that's where we need to be able to handle that kind of stuff. So the way that we do that, just like we began today, we breathe through our nose, not through our mouth. Our mouth is for eating and speaking. Our nose is designed only for breathing. It has filters, it's got a system, it's awesome. It's designed for breathing. So really encouraging all of us to begin a practice where we breathe simply through our nose and notice if we're breathing through our mouth. and kind of just, that's my fight or flight, is through the mouth, that short panting style breath. And then the second way is really becoming aware of breathing down deep into our belly, pushing our shoulders backwards, taking a deep breath, and using an opportunity, 1 minute, 2 minutes a day, to do the cycle of breathing called box breathing, where we will breathe into 4 seconds, you hold for 2, and then you exhale for 4, holding for 2 again at the bottom. And this is a breathing technique used by Navy SEALs and elite warriors to ground themselves in moments of high stress, like combat, and allows them to trick their body, even when they are in a physical circumstance that naturally triggers your fight or flight. They can coach their body back into a rest and digest so they can think with their front brain, make informed decisions for their safety of themselves and their men and women. So that is really awesome. Box breathing is the way to go. I am actually running out of time. I'm supposed to be on the board meeting here in 2 minutes. So meditating, I know Unity is all over this. Try and do at least, if you can do the bookends in the morning and the evening before you plug into the world and check in and see how things are going. Get yourself and your mind and spirit aligned with how you want to be able to respond proactively to what's happening in the world. And then at the end of the day, have an opportunity to disconnect from the world and reconnect, replug into your soul and your highest self. Okay. It was so awesome to be able to see everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If it was helpful, if you'd like to talk more, I will try next time to plan so I'm not backing up onto a meeting. But I'm gonna head off to see other Unity folks for a while, and I will talk to everybody soon. Sending everybody light, love, hugs, and well wishes for your health.